John Wayne was not only a Hollywood actor, but also a very strong political figure. He openly supported conservative values, spoke out against communism, and backed the Vietnam War when many Americans were against it. This made him a hero for some people, but also created many enemies. He often used his movies to share his beliefs, especially in films like The Green Berets, which showed American soldiers in a positive way during a time when protests filled the streets. Wayne's voice carried weight because he was seen as the symbol of America's fighting spirit. His political involvement meant he was more than just a star. He was also a cultural force. While many actors keep their views private, Wayne never hid his opinions. Even today, debates continue about whether his strong words helped or harmed his image. But one thing is certain, his influence reached far beyond the screen, shaping public opinion during one of the most divided times in U.S. history. Years after his passing, many of John Wayne's personal items were placed in an auction. Fans and collectors from around the world showed up to own a piece of his legendary life. The items were not just props but also treasures that told his story. His cowboy hat, worn in several famous westerns, sold for hundreds of thousands of dollars. His Golden Globe Award found a new home at a very high price. Even his eye patch from True Grit, the role that won him an Oscar, became one of the most desired pieces. These auctions showed how deeply people loved him, and how much his image meant to American culture. Buyers were not just purchasing items, they were buying a piece of history connected to the man who defined the cowboy role for generations. The event reminded everyone that even after his death, Wayne's presence remained alive through the things he left behind. Behind the tough cowboy image, John Wayne was also a family man. He had 7 children from his marriages, and while his career often kept him away from home, he always cared deeply about his kids. His friends often said that Wayne had a softer side, especially when it came to the people he loved. He enjoyed simple pleasures like fishing, spending time outdoors, and laughing with close companions. Many stories describe him as generous, offering help when people needed it. He was also known for standing by his friends during difficult times. For example, he gave work opportunities to struggling actors and supported crew members who had worked with him for years. These acts of kindness are often forgotten because the public mostly remembers the strong cowboy image. But those who knew him personally always spoke about his loyalty and big heart. This human side made him more than a Hollywood star. It made him a person people could admire beyond the screen. Even decades after his death, John Wayne's influence can still be felt in Hollywood. Many actors, such as Clint Eastwood and Kevin Costner, followed his path by starring in westerns and action films that echoed his style. The idea of the lone hero, the brave man standing for justice, continues to inspire filmmakers. Beyond film, his legacy also lives on through cultural symbols. Statues, museums, and even schools have been named after him. His movies are still played on television, introducing new generations to his work. His family has also worked hard to keep his name alive by running foundations, including those supporting cancer research. This way, his personal struggles with illness are turned into something positive that helps others. For many Americans, John Wayne is not just a figure from the past. He is still part of what they imagine when they think of strength, honor, and determination. His legacy is proof that some stars never fade away, even with time. Words 335. John Wayne's death in 1979 was not just the end of a man's life, but the closing of an era in Hollywood. He represented the old-fashioned values of courage and patriotism, and his movies became more than entertainment. They were lessons in bravery. When he passed away, tributes poured in from all over the world. Politicians, actors, and fans all shared their sorrow. Streets and schools were named after him, and he was given the Presidential Medal of Freedom, the highest civilian honor in the United States. His grave, located in California, is still visited by fans who want to pay respect to their hero. But more than monuments or awards, his real memorial is the continued love people have for his films. Whenever someone watches Stagecoach, True Grit, or The Searchers, Wayne comes alive again. His spirit continues to ride across the big screen, reminding the world of the cowboy who never gave up. John Wayne was one of the biggest stars in Hollywood history. Known to millions as the Duke, he became the face of the American cowboy, a symbol of strength, courage, and independence. On screen, he always seemed larger than life, commanding attention in every scene he played. For decades, audiences admired him as the ultimate Western hero, someone who stood tall against challenges and represented traditional values. But behind the curtain of fame, the real story of John Wayne's life was more complicated. He had 3 marriages, 7 children, political controversies, and serious health struggles. And when he passed away in 1979, the drama did not end with his death. Instead, It carried on into his family life, his inheritance, and the emotional moments surrounding his fortune. When his will was read, it left many people in tears, not just because of the money involved, but because of the choices Wayne made about who would inherit what. His story is about more than just a film career. It is also about love, loss, family loyalty, and the legacy that continues even decades after his passing. To truly understand why John Wayne's fortune created so much emotion, we need to look not only at the numbers but also at the man himself. His journey from a small-town boy named Marion Morrison to one of Hollywood's most iconic legends, and how his choices in life and death shaped the destiny of those closest to him. John Wayne's family life was as dramatic as his movies. He married 3 times, and each marriage shaped different chapters of his personal story. His first marriage was to Josephine Sayens, the daughter of a Panamanian diplomat, in 1933. Together, they had 4 children: Michael, Tony, Patrick, and Melinda. At the start, their union gave Wayne a sense of stability while he was climbing the Hollywood ladder. But as his fame grew, so did the pressures of long hours, travel, and the temptations of celebrity life. Eventually, the marriage ended, though Wayne continued to play an active role in his children's lives. His second marriage was far shorter and less stable. It promised companionship at first, but the differences between Wayne and his new wife quickly became impossible to ignore, leading to another divorce. His third marriage was with Pilar Palette, a Peruvian actress, and it lasted longer than the others. Together they had 3 children: Ethan, Isa, and Marisa. For many years, they were seen as one of Hollywood's admired families, but even this relationship fell apart under the weight of Wayne's demanding lifestyle and constant work. Although separated, Pilar and her children were financially secure through a settlement. Despite all these ups and downs, Wayne always tried to remain present for his 7 children. He valued loyalty and wanted his children to share in his success and understand the importance of family ties. These complicated relationships set the stage for the decisions Wayne would later make in his will. Decisions that balanced care, fairness, and boundaries when it came to dividing his fortune. While Wayne's family was important, his health struggles also became a major part of his story. In 1964, he was diagnosed with lung cancer, a terrifying discovery for someone who had spent years smoking heavily. The illness was so serious that doctors had to remove one of his lungs and several ribs in an attempt to save his life. Remarkably, Wayne survived and kept working, living up to his image as the Duke, a man who never backed down. Fans admired his resilience, but the truth was that his health was never the same again. In the late 1970s, another devastating diagnosis came, this time stomach cancer. On June 11, 1979, at the age of 72, John Wayne passed away in Los Angeles. Many people believe that his cancer was linked not only to smoking, but also to his work on the 1956 film The Conqueror. That movie was filmed in Utah near a nuclear testing site. Although the cast and crew were told it was safe, radioactive fallout spread across the filming location. Over the years, it was reported that out of the 220 people who worked on the movie, 91 later developed cancer, and nearly half of them died. Wayne, along with other stars like Susan Hayward and director Dick Powell, became part of that tragic statistic. His death left his family in deep grief, but it also raised difficult questions about his estate, his wealth, and how his legacy would continue. When John Wayne's will was read, it revealed the complexity of his personal life. His estate was valued at about $6.8 million, which was a huge amount for that time. Around $1 million came from real estate, while nearly $5.75 million came from personal property, investments, and accounts. The biggest beneficiaries were his 7 children, who inherited the bulk of his wealth. This showed Wayne's commitment to family, even if his marriages had not always worked out. Interestingly, his third wife, Pilar, received nothing in the will, but she was already protected by an earlier settlement from their separation. His first wife, Josephine, was given a trust that provided $3,000 per month for life, and after her death, the remaining funds would pass to their 4 children. Wayne also remembered his loyal staff. His longtime secretary, Pat Stacy, received $30,000, while another secretary, Mary St. John, was left $10,000. These gestures showed Wayne's gratitude to those who had supported him for decades. Beyond money, Wayne included personal touches. Costumes, memorabilia, and props from his legendary films were to be shared among his children. These items were more than just possessions. They were symbols of Hollywood history. To add generosity, he directed that certain art pieces be donated to charity. Altogether, the will showed Wayne as both practical and sentimental, ensuring his family was cared for while also honoring loyalty and legacy. The story of John Wayne's fortune did not end with the reading of his will. Decades later, in October 2011, an extraordinary event brought his legacy back into the spotlight. Heritage Auctions organized a massive sale of more than 700 items connected to Wayne's life and career. Fans, collectors, and Hollywood enthusiasts gathered for a two-day auction filled with emotion and excitement. By the end, the total sales reached an incredible $5.4 million. Some of the items that sold revealed just how much people valued a direct connection to the Duke. His last driver's license from 1977 sold for nearly $90,000. His holster and gun belt from El Dorado went for more than $77,000. The eye patch he wore in True Grit fetched nearly $48,000, while his cowboy hat used in Big Jake and the Cowboys sold for $119,500. The biggest surprise was the Green Beret from the Green Berets, which sold for a staggering $179,250. Even his Golden Globe Award for True Grit was auctioned for $143,400. Beyond the money, this auction showed how deeply Wayne's image and legacy still touched people. Each item carried a story, and each winning bid reflected admiration for the man who had become an American icon. Importantly, part of the proceeds went to the John Wayne Cancer Foundation, linking his memory to a cause that mattered deeply to him. The auction was more than a sale. It was a celebration of a man who continued to inspire even decades after his death. To understand why John Wayne's estate and legacy mattered so much, it is important to remember where he came from. Born as Marion Robert Morrison in Winterset, Iowa, in 1907, Wayne came from ordinary beginnings. His family later moved to California, where he grew up in Glendale. As a young man, he was athletic, hardworking, and full of potential. At the University of Southern California, he played football and earned a scholarship. But after a serious injury ended his sports career, his path shifted dramatically. Through connections, he got work at Fox Film Corporation, not as an actor but moving props and furniture. His tall frame and commanding presence soon caught the eye of filmmakers, and he began acting in small roles. During the 1930s, he starred in dozens of low-budget westerns, often called B-movies. These films weren't glamorous, but they gave Wayne the chance to learn his craft. His slow drawl, steady walk, and calm authority began to define his screen presence. Success seemed out of reach until 1939, when director John Ford cast him in Stagecoach. As the Ringo Kid, Wayne finally became a true star, launching a career that would make him one of the most recognizable faces in American cinema. From the 1940s through the 1960s, John Wayne became the biggest name in Western films. Movies like Red River, The Searchers, Rio Bravo, and The Quiet Man showed his versatility. He wasn't just a cowboy. He could play soldiers, adventurers, and even romantic roles. In 1969, his performance as Rooster Cogburn in True Grit earned him an Academy Award for Best Actor, proving his critics wrong and confirming his place as a serious actor. Wayne didn't stop at acting. He created his own production companies, giving him control over the stories he told. He produced and even directed movies like The Alamo. His work behind the camera showed his ambition to shape Hollywood narratives, especially stories of American heroism and patriotism. Beyond films, Wayne became a strong political voice. A conservative, he supported U.S. military involvement in Vietnam and produced the Green Berets as a statement of support for American soldiers. His views made him a polarizing figure, admired by some and criticized by others, but always respected as a man who stood firm in his beliefs. By the end of his career, Wayne was more than just an actor. He was a symbol of American strength, values, and culture, making his legacy larger than any single film.